All right, so now we're going to move into our table topics section for today. I will also be our table topics master today. So some of you guys may be familiar with this table topics presentation, but we're doing a table topics presentation on one of my favorite cartoons, the Clone Wars, Star Wars. And so I picked out some of my favorite quotes, and we're gonna answer some questions based off of those quotes from the TV show. So in the table topics section, I will say the question and read the quote for you guys, and then you can do a 1 to 2 minute impromptu speech. And yeah, so all you need to do is unmute your mic and start talking, or let me know that you'd like to go, and we'll jump right into it. All right, guys. So, the winding path to peace is always a worthy one, regardless of how many turns it takes. So describe something that brings you peace in your life. We're approaching the end of the semester, so anybody feeling especially ready for some unwinding time, gonna watch TV, see family, something that brings you peace?
I can take this one, Courtney.
Perfect.
So what is something that really brings me peace of mind or peace in general? So I'm not really a guy that likes to sit down and relax. I often try to just like find ways to just always keep myself busy some way or another. Like I'm not even the type of guy that takes naps. Like for me, naps are like a no-go because every time I take a nap, I basically wake up feeling groggy. I'm like, where am I? What time is it? I start losing track of reality, and I'm like, that was not worth it. So for me, something that really brings me peace in my life would probably be uh, maybe food, actually. Like I know it's like a very cliche thing to say, but oftentimes, let's say I'm like grinding out on a paper or studying hard, I can always take like a snack break, go downstairs, go grab something to eat, and I feel better afterwards. And I think it nourishes my brain as well. So it really draws out my inner cravings and is able to satisfy me. So I guess the point of having a peace or like something that brings peace to us would be something that brings happiness and relaxation. So for me, that would be food, I guess. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to second that. Food definitely brings me lots of peace, especially during this time of year. I can just pig out and not worry about anything. All right, so our next one is the best confidence builder is experience. Describe something that you feel really experienced and confident doing.
I actually feel very confident about speeding on the highway because I have an app called Waze, where it essentially tells me where every single police officer is. It's an incredible network, an app that, for some reason, every user, when they see a police officer, immediately notifies the app, so it's very reliable. And I got caught only once. This was my first experience of getting caught for speeding, first and only. I was going 120. They talked it down to 83, and eventually the fee was nullified. But since then, I've been a more confident speeder. I've known the nooks and crannies officers hide in. I also know highways that are more vulnerable to speeding tickets, etc.
I like the way you took that. I wasn't expecting that, but that is, hey, as long as you don't get tickets, it's okay, I think. No, and I actually kind of drive a little too fast sometimes too, so I feel that. So our next question is, facing all that you fear will free you from yourself. When was a time when you had to face one of your fears? So something scary, if it was spiders, if it was heights. Yeah, anybody have any fears they've had to face lately?
I got one.
Okay.
So I have a slight fear of the paranormal, which many people probably fear too. This is one time in 9th grade. It was January of 2013. It's close to my birthday. School had just started. I was on the phone with my girlfriend at the time. It was 6:30 in the morning, roughly, and no one else was in the house. I was making toast. And I'm on the phone with her, and all of a sudden I hear this, what sounds like the radio comes on in my dining room. I'm like, what is that? Like, oh, that's the radio. That's weird. Like, must be a power surge. And then I'm like, oh, wait, no, it's the TV. It's in the living room because it had moved to the living room. Or I don't know. It sounded like it moved. And I was like, oh, it's got to be the living room. I must have misheard it. And then I heard the voice at the bottom of the stairs. And I have no idea what it said. I couldn't tell you. It just was gibberish. I know it was a man's voice, and it was terrifying. I think I abandoned my toast and I left the house and I didn't come in. I didn't have all my stuff together for school. I just left, and the bus wasn't coming for 45 minutes. I was like, I'm not going back in there. There's no way I'm going back in there for anything. So I didn't. So I don't know if that counts as facing my fear. I think it does, but just goes to show you that facing your fear doesn't necessarily mean conquering it. Thank you so much, Courtney.
I agree. If you see anything anything paranormal, you need to go the other direction. You don't need to face that. I do not like scary things. So I'm 100% with you, Justin. And I think you did a great job facing that situation. So our next prompt is, if there is no path before you, create your own. Describe a time when you created an opportunity for yourself. So this could be anything. You opened up your schedule a little bit. You nailed a job interview. You knew nobody else could get it. Just any type of opportunity that maybe even just opened up in your life and you took advantage of that. And that's also creating an opportunity for yourself. So yeah, if anybody wants to take that one. Maybe somebody who hasn't gone yet. Noah, do you want to take this one?
I'm sure I can take this one. So, well, let's see. Well, a lot of times, life is not easy, and sometimes you have to create your own path. Luckily for me, I've always sort of gotten away with a lot of things, or have gotten most of what I wanted. And for the things that I didn't want, I either gave up or tried a little bit harder. So I guess the one thing that I created my own path, or I sort of overcame, was a few sports injuries here and there. There was a time when I had a major back injury and I could barely walk, I could barely study, I could barely just go about the norms of life. And so I sort of had to figure out ways to do things here and there. I didn't want to withdraw out of all my classes, so I sort of had to design new ways to study, from, I don't know, buying a bunch of pillows here and there, creating my own stools, because I didn't want to buy the expensive stool that you would buy when you have the type of injury I had. And it was just sort of amazing, the amount of things that I was able to design, the amount of ways I was able to do it just to be able to maintain the grades that I ended up receiving throughout the semester. And so I think just when more of the story is that when life hits you, sometimes you got to figure out a way to sort of go in and around the crevices, because I guess if you believe in yourself and if you work really hard, you'll be able to accomplish whatever goal you have, no matter what obstacles are in the way. Thank you.
Thanks, Noah. Yeah, that's awesome. That's great advice. And I like how you went with that too. Overcoming an injury and creating ways to fit that into your life and make it work. I think that's great. So our next prompt is who you were does not have to define who you are. So what is something that you used to do, believe, express in high school that is different today? I know I have a lot that I don't do anymore that I did in high school. I'm sure somebody can think of something because you grow and you change and you look back and you're like, oh my God, why did I wear those pants so many times? And you figure things out. So yeah, whoever wants to take this one. Nadia, did you want to give this one a try?
Sure. Do I have to time myself?
I can go and time you out. Give me like 2 seconds.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I can do it.
Okay,
I got it.
go on.
Okay. So something that I used to believe, I really strongly believed in high school was I was a Democrat. In fact, I was the president of Young Democrats at my school, and I tried to get as many people as possible to join. And now I can strongly say that I am not a Democrat. I am a leftist. I am not a liberal. And something else that I really noticed was that in high school, whenever anyone had a differing opinion from me, I would immediately begin arguing with them and telling them why they were wrong and spitting facts out at them. And since then, I've realized that's not a very good way to get someone to your side. You can't be immediately confrontational because then they're going to be confrontational back. And it's also just a lot of people have confirmation bias and they hear one thing and they're only going to believe anything that confirms what they already know. So I've since realized that if I want to convince someone that there should be universal health care or any other number of things like free college, free tuition, then I have to agree with them on a point that they've made first. Say, I agree with you that the value of education might go down if everyone has access to free college. And then I can go ahead and explain my reasons why I think the only way to progress society is to make sure the citizenry is as informed as possible, as educated as possible. So that's something I definitely do not agree with anymore. I do not agree that I should be as confrontational as I once was. And I don't agree that everyone should be a Democrat. I don't even agree in the two-party system. So thank you.
Wow, that was great, Nadia. Yeah, I feel like, yeah, it's great that you've realized that. I do the same thing. When I don't agree with someone, I can immediately jump to being confrontational. And so that was a great lesson that you shared with everybody to just, try to make arguments using facts and knowledge. I thought that was a great answer. All right, so our next one is the wise benefit from a second opinion. What is something you would consult another person on before making a final decision? So we all have a lot of things we got to do. Do you call your mom before you file your taxes? Do you make second opinions for doctor's appointments? Anything. It can really be anything.
I'll go and take this one, Courtney. So I would consult another person before making any large purchase, really. For example, a car or a house. Those are very large purchases, especially as a first-time buyer. With my first time buying a car, I probably have very little experience in looking for a right car. I don't know if it could be if I'm buying a used car, if I need how to check for all the right things, if the engine works correctly and all the other things you check for in a car, or even if it's a brand new car at a dealership, how do I know they're not trying to get all the extras for extra money because they get it on commission and everything else, just trying to get another buck out of me when I just want the bare essentials that I need. Or for the example on a house, how do I know that I'm actually getting a good realtor, an agent, and they're working for the best price? So those are probably the main things that I would consult someone with. And in terms of who I would consult with, really anybody that's close to me and that I think has a good knowledge on that subject. So that could be anywhere from my parents, my friends, or even someone that I don't know as closely but knows about that subject. And so I think it's really important to consult people, because if you don't, you'll end up getting trapped in those situations where you'd wish you had. So thank you for listening to my speech, Courtney.
No, of course. Yeah, I totally agree. When I bought a car, the salesman was trying to get me to do all these things I didn't want to do. He had me backed up in a corner, and I had to call my mom and she had to come save me. So yeah, that's a great thing to get a second opinion on. So our next one is adaptation is key to survival. Describe a time when significant changes occurred in your life, and how did you adapt to that situation? So we're all really young. I'm sure lots of changes happening, you know, starting a new semester, being in a new class, moving to a new apartment. Has anybody had to adapt to a new situation?
I can take this one. Is it okay that I've already given a speech?
Oh yeah, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my parents cut me off financially, and just cut me off completely after my first semester as a freshman. So second semester, I had no means to pay for my school at UGA. I had no means to pay for my dorm. I had nothing. I had really nothing. I only saved up around $800 some for my summer job the summer before, and I was lost. So I had to adapt pretty quickly. And I was like, okay, for this semester, my only option is to take out some student loans. So that's what I did. But to plan ahead for my next semesters, I decided that I would have to join the Army. And I joined Army ROTC in the hopes that I would get a ROTC scholarship. And that sounded like a very sound and good plan for me at the time. The only issue is that the officer at UGA, the scholarship official, he sexually assaulted a lot of girls in ROTC, including me, and he got fired. And as soon as he was under investigation, he stopped applying for scholarships for students at UGA. So I didn't get my scholarship, and I had, again, no means to pay for school. And what did I have to do? I decided, okay, I'm going to strap on my boots. I'm going to get a job, and I'm going to have to transfer out of UGA for now, make up enough money, and try to come back after a year. So I went to GGC for a year. I worked the entire time, and I saved up enough money to come back to UGA this fall. Yeah, that's it.
Wow. First of all, I'm so sorry that happened to you. That sounds horrible, but I'm still so amazed by your story of just like strength and coming back from that. And here you are back at UGA, and you sound like you were such a strong person. So I definitely see how you made it through. But yeah, I'm sorry that guy was so messed up.
It's okay. Officer Fracassa has been fired.
Oh, thank God. All right, so our next one is survival is one step on the path to living. What is something you live for that is not essential to survival? So I think everybody has gone once. So if somebody wants, some more people want to go for a second time, but what's something that is not essential to survival? You know, is there somebody that you care about, that you feel like you couldn't live without? Is there something in your life that you care about that you feel like you couldn't live without? I know my best friend couldn't live without K-pop. It would be over if that stopped being part of her life. So yeah, does anybody want to go?
I can take this one.
Oh, perfect.
Okay, so what's something that you live for that's not essential to survival? So I used to go through my life just wondering, like, you know, what if this never happened, or what if that never happened? And I came to a conclusion that everything happens for a reason. All of the bad experiences, all of the good experiences, all of the mistakes you've made, all of this time you've spent doing something that you shouldn't have been doing. Everything happens for a reason. So I think that everything is essential for your life, regardless of how much of a time you think you have wasted. I remember just a few months back, I was doing fireworks with a friend, and then we had a party, and then something crazy happened at the party. And so for me, it was just a really good lesson that happened. And I just think every instance that you're doing something, every moment that you're breathing, every Instagram post or every Twitter post that you make that may be good or may be bad, it serves as a lesson, as a lesson either to do it better or to just never do it again. And so, I think a lot of times growing up, I was raised to work hard and focus on your studies, and work hard again and focus on your studies. But sometimes you gotta have fun, and you gotta enjoy yourself. And so I think that everything is essential for survival, especially the good times, because when you're 80, 90 years old and you look back in your life and you think about, oh, what did I do? And then you never want to go back and say, oh, I wish I could have did this, or I wish I could have did that. And so for me, I live off, making the best of the times that you have, because you never know when you wouldn't be able to have those times, because tomorrow is not guaranteed. But just do it in a way that's smart, and do it in a way that is not detrimental to your health, because you want to see tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Noah. Yeah, I think that's a great lesson that you were telling us, that everything should be essential to your life, and you should live your life to the fullest and not be focused on just surviving. All right, so our next one is, what is lost is often found. Describe a time when you lost or found something.
I can take this one, Courtney.
Okay.
I'm going to take this the route of not something physical, but motivation. And it's an ongoing lost and found. I'd say, especially during this time of the pandemic, it's been very easy to lose motivation. But so what you have to do is search out for the things that motivate you and find new hobbies, because a lot of our things obviously been disrupted. But that's something that I've definitely lost and have found in the past. Whether it be I'm just in the middle of a school semester, it's getting hit during finals week, or any other number of things that occur in our life. It's always important to know that you're always going to come back. You have your highs and you have your lows. So you just need to find another thing to aspire to reach. And I think that's all we can do. And so I think it's really a strong message to keep finding that motivation. And if you're on that low, that message itself probably wasn't very motivating, but find something that you really enjoy and how you can keep enjoying it. Thank you, Courtney.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm constantly finding and losing motivation. So I totally feel that. Let's see. So our next prompt is, embrace others from their differences, for that makes you whole. Describe a quality in a friend or loved one that you cherish because it helps you to see life from a different perspective. Anybody want to try that one? People who have maybe not gone twice, thinking about just people in your life who might have a different culture or who might think differently than you, but you appreciate the perspective that they provide in your life.
I can take this one.
Oh, great.
So growing up, my dad was, having been a refugee in Thailand, he had a very aggressive way of looking at life. For instance, he would walk into a Chick-fil-A and maybe he'd see some old friends he'd seen and he'd ask, have any of your friends died yet? I want to buy some of the houses. He was very straightforward. He got to the point and he was very aggressive in pushing his point through. And growing up as a very mild and meek child, so the dynamic between having someone who went after everything they wanted and spoke their mind openly versus someone who was more reserved from more Eastern culture and was very careful about what they said. And we did clash from time to time. He would voice his objections about me very openly and very boldly. And eventually that perspective has pushed me in a way to, I guess, find a way to push back and do so in a very loving way. Most important thing I learned is people pushing you around isn't necessarily a definition of who they are. It's more of a sum of their experiences that you don't necessarily understand. So that has helped me move forward today.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I mean, that's awesome that you can see it that way. And, you know, it's hard when your dad is really strict and tough on you. But it's awesome that you've grown up to take that perspective and just use it to figure out who you are. So that's awesome. So our next one, where we are going always reflects where we came from. So describe something from your early life that you feel has shaped you today. This is kind of similar to the high school one, but maybe just a little bit more broad. So anything that happened in your early life, whether it's from your childhood, that you feel shapes you today, I mean, is a huge part of who you are.
I can do this one.
Awesome.
So I am the youngest of 4 children. And like many youngest children, I am spoiled. I was spoiled compared to my other siblings. And I learned that if I yell and scream loud enough, I would get what I wanted. And I was also I'll be honest, I was a demon child. If my mom punished me for something, then through my punishment, I would find a way to make her life miserable. Or if she backed me into a corner, I would just tear the house down. I wouldn't stay in my corner. So, not literally, but I did like almost break some doors. So how does that shape me today? Well, I'm not like that anymore. I hope not, at least. I don't think I am. If I am, someone needs to tell me, and quick. So assuming that I am not in fact this way anymore, it's taught me that I can fight for the things that I need and I can fight for others, that there are productive ways to channel that passion and to channel that passion into something useful, into a constructive way of fighting for myself or fighting for people, and to do it in a loving way, to try to do like speaking the truth in love. It does get me in trouble, I think, still today. If someone backs me into a corner, my first instinct is to be like, I'll show you. So I really have to work on that and work on my humility, which really just requires a lot of grace. So it definitely does have some negative side effects that I still battle with and some defects, but I do appreciate the positives and I do appreciate the strength that it has given me. Back to you, Courtney.
Thank you, Justin. Yeah, if you ask my mom, I was also a devil child. And so I hope none of that has come into adulthood, but yeah, somebody's gonna have to let me know too. Our next one is, you must trust in others or success is impossible. Describe a time when you put your trust in someone else or vice versa. Anybody want to take this one? See who has not gone twice yet.
I can take this from Courtney.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Okay, so describe a time when you put your trust in someone else or vice versa. So I think I'd like to talk about a time when people put a lot of trust in me. So that was when in senior year, I served as the captain of my quiz bowl team. And basically we had this upcoming competition that we were going to at North Atlanta High School, actually. And now my high school isn't necessarily a small high school. It's not like it was from some like rural county or like some urban, it wasn't necessarily a bad school. It was an okay school, but like our team itself was, it's average, right? It's not going to be like that team that wins like the trophies, but it's also not the team that's going to be like in dead last and like going to be behind everyone else. Now, the reason I bring up North Atlanta High School is because at this high school, they had this competition going around, and we were facing a lot of the other competitive teams from places like Johns Creek, from Northview High School, like all of these top tier programs. And then there was us, like they had like what, 10 people on their team. We had 5 people. They had actual practices and actually did stuff and were smart. We really didn't have any of that going for us. So I think when they put trust in me, I was the captain. So I had to basically lead everyone, keep them motivated, and really make sure that everyone was able to answer effectively and not be dragged down by the fact we were going against someone bigger and smarter than us. Like we had to put in all. So thank you.
Thanks, Sourin. That's awesome. Yeah, it sounds like you were a pretty good leader to your team there. So that's great. All right. A plan is only as good as those who see it through. What was the best trip you have been on that you planned with your friends?
I can take this one.
Yeah.
So there was a summer where I went to Alabama with a good friend of mine. And a plan we tripped was from Alabama. We saw like a tiny island on the edge of the coast, and we speculated that maybe that's Cuba. So I'm like, all right, let's go. We're going to make it all the way to Cuba and go as far into the ocean as we can. And of course, this plan was doomed to fail. His girlfriend actually got really mad because he made a promise that when I arrived, he wouldn't leave her alone and he wouldn't go out somewhere with me and wander around. But turns out that's what he did. So we spent about 2 or 3 hours going as far as we can down the Alabama coastline. I think we went a total of 3/4 of a mile off the coast. Turns out there are bull sharks in the area, but it's a memory that I hold dear because I think any adventure or any plan is only as good as the people you have in it, and that goes for our lives as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. That's really scary. Don't get eaten by bull sharks the next time you want to go to Cuba. That's awesome, though. So that is going to conclude our table topics section for today. So we are going to move along into our evaluator section today. So I am going to pass it along to our general evaluator today, who is Noah Kuranga.